Hi, everyone. This is our first podcast, so apologies for the laughably small setup and weird lighting, but it's our first time, so forgive us for that. So I am John Robison. I am co-founder of Standard Data. Our goal is to help match manufacturers with skilled talent. I'm here today with Sangam Chapagain, founder of Cheforge. Sangam, tell about yourself, what you're working on, your company.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here. Yeah, I'm Sangam. I just started a AI robotics company that makes AI powered cooking robots. And I moved here to Sunnyvale like a month ago. Excited to be here.
So let's actually break this down. So for people who are watching, mostly
Mhm.
going to be probably job seekers who are interested in kind of working at your company, applying for your company. Let's talk back to what do you exactly do and work on today, and how do you even find this problem?
Yeah, right now we're in research and development phase.
Okay.
We're building the cooking robot that's in the size of a microwave. Um, so basically, a countertop appliance that people can put in their kitchen and interact with and cook food for them and for their families. And the problem is personal to me as an international student. Many years ago, I was here in United States, and and I missed home when I was like missing the food at home, and I learned cooking, and it was fun, but as you know, it's stressful, time consuming, and as an engineer, my first idea is like, oh, how can I automate this, or can I buy something that's out there?
Hmm.
And yeah, there's not a solution out there to to have a control of like, oh, I want to do this, that, and be able to put in your kitchen and interact with and cook new items. So that's how it started, and it was in back of my head for a long, long time. And as a mechanical engineer and a robotics engineer, I was always thinking about it. And then recently, yeah, I started working on it actively.
So just for the audience's visibility, so you studied mechanical in
Mm-hmm.
college,
Mm-hmm.
right? You came here in 2017
Yes.
from DePaul,
Yes.
and then while you were in school, where'd you study again?
Uh, like here.
Yeah, in the U.S.
Yeah, so for my undergrad, I studied mechanical engineering, and also for my master's and part of PhD, I was
And
mechan.
where did you study?
Uh,
What part of the country were you in?
oh, yeah. So for my undergrad, I was in Louisiana McNeese State University,
Okay.
and their mechanical engineering. After that, I joined Texas A&M for my master's in mechanical engineering, and then I continued a PhD there for a while too.
Because why I ask is I'm kind of trying to break down. So just again to recap for everyone, Chef Forge helps build robots to automate cooking.
Mm-hmm.
The inspiration for the idea came from, hey, I come from Nepal and I don't have a lot of authentic food where I'm going to school right now. I wish I had more of this. And short of some business opening up nearby with authentic food, you have no way of getting that food. Even if there was a business, it would be expensive. And so you're looking for a way, how can I more systematically create this authentic experience without having to, basically start a business, start a restaurant? Is that generally correct? Like the path from you want this authentic food, there's no options around you, so you sought to find a way to actually create that using
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Uh, Partly, yeah, yeah. There were restaurants out there, and sometimes like the way you cook at home and the way you get at restaurants are different.
Hmm.
And being from Nepal or any other South Asian countries, like we cook almost every day. Like
Right.
yeah, and the amount of ingredients you can buy and then cook at home versus eating outside. And for a student in like during undergrad, it's like much more expensive to eat outside every day versus
Totally.
getting those ingredients and cooking at home. So partly it was like, okay, it's expensive to eat outside, so I don't want to eat outside. Also, the taste you can cook at home, it's much more fresh and less
Right.
like much more fresh. You can eat at home. So yeah, that those were two motivations.
So if you were to describe really like what is the end state of this company,
Mm-hmm.
it would probably be something like this.
Mhm.
You're a consumer,
Mhm.
and let's say whether you're a college student, whether you're a family, and you on Monday or on Sunday night say, I want to cook for the week
Mhm.
these 15 meals over
Mhm.
5 days.
Mhm.
And you can say, I want this meal Monday morning, this meal Monday afternoon, this meal Monday evening, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And the idea is that you could have a direct sort of avenue from the fridge and raw ingredients to your device where every morning, 7 a.m., you have, boom, butter, toast, jam. Every evening, you have, boom, chicken, rice, vegetables. And so you have this sort of clear way to cook meals without needing to yourself come in, make every single meal from scratch from the raw ingredients. It adds half an hour each meal. So over the day, an hour and a half per day. Over a week, you're looking at probably like 20 hours of extra work, basically. That kind of the end state goal of Shiftforge is to remove that task from consumers.
Yes, absolutely. And with the recent development of AI, it's much more interactive, much more easy to do that, and then the increase in competition capabilities of different chip makers. So yeah, ultimate goal is you get the ingredients from fridge. There is some like the equipment or machine to prep your food,
Sure, sure.
ready to put into the cooking robot that we're building right now. You put
Right.
in there, and then it cooks you chicken curry or pasta or other Mediterranean stuff or Thai cuisine and different kinds of food. It might not be able to cook all the recipes we can cook as humans
Mm-hmm.
because, as we know, like it's much more complicated for a countertop appliance to do all the work that human hands can do.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
we're much more capable than what the current robots can do. But the goal is to have that complete feature from scratch to finish for different meals from all around the world.
What I would say is to me, the idea of what makes it very, I'd say, contrarian is whenever I meet founders in robotics,
Hmm.
it's typically around a few sort of core theses.
Hmm.
It's autonomous vehicles.
Hmm.
So whether it's drones or cars, some sort of autonomous mobility, or it is industrial automation. It's
Hmm.
factories. Um, and even if I did hear about a cooking robot, I would think it would be in terms of like an enterprise context,
Hmm.
Taco Bell or Wendy's. It's just much easier to automate a single process
Hmm.
versus a consumer I'd have over the course of a week, you know, a huge combination of possible things they want. Whereas Wendy's, you're only having some finite set of things you're making, so
Hmm.
you can have an easier way to automate that process versus any process. So one, why choose to attack food
Hmm.
as opposed to, you know, factories or mobility? And then two, why choose the consumer and not the enterprise as your main first target?
Hmm. Uh, so I am biased on this approach because I wanted to make something for myself.
Right.
And yes, ideally, it would be a good way to um, uh, build for enterprise customers and like do certain amount of recipes without having a dynamic capability of like variation in food.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Here, my philosophy is AI and robotics should empower each individual. Like we should have a power of how we control our activities.
Sure.
I think the original purpose of like the tech and all the things we're hardly working on is how can individual have a choice of, oh, I want to do this, and power of, okay, yeah, let's say I want to cook versus, oh, I go to a restaurant and there are 10 recipes and I need to choose from one of those. Like
Sure.
how can AI empower me to try a new recipe like I have never tried? How can I tweak this recipe and make my own? It's about like uh, making allowing people to use their creativity to explore new things, new food. So
Right.
it is a tough challenge, but I think it's worth trying.
I think for me, like I don't disagree that the end state I defined earlier, I think makes complete sense. If you said to consumers today, if you told me today, John, you have the ability to pre-input your desired meals for the week, and every day at a certain time there was made for you, I would at a reasonable price for like even if it price like a pricey TV, I would pay for that. Like I would pay for that device. I think my worry is it reminds me of like the analogy of like if Steve Jobs' first goal was the iPhone.
Mhm.
No matter how much he believed in that mission, it
Mhm.
would be literally impossible.
Mhm.
Like it had to be a 30 plus year company building activity
Mhm.
for the company that could create the iPhone. Like he had to build first the Mac. He had to bring in like, dozens of innovations,
Mhm.
from the Mac to the iPod to the iPhone over a 30-year period of time and lots of in the process, tumultuous situations. I totally buy that this is a good end goal. I think my question for you is then, like, what do you see as like the 30-year roadmap?
Mhm.
Because I think it's probably won't happen in the next 5 months.
Mhm.
Have a fully autonomous robot for cooking.
Mhm.
So what do you see as the roadmap for like what do you think is an actually like achievable first product that you could ship,
Mhm.
people would pay for,
Mhm.
and what do you think the timeline is for that to be produced?
Okay, yeah. When we think about robots and autonomous robot, let's say many of people out there might be thinking, "Oh, this is a cooking robot, so it's something like human hands and stuff," and so it might be expensive. It might be like complex and not like what about safety, privacy, right? Uh, like when you look at the data, I think like the second most the second largest amount we spend on is food after rent. Like that's almost 10 to 15% of our whole income. So when you say like, oh, I'm gonna sell you a humanoid robot, like $100,000 humanoid robot that's going to cook food for you and stuff like that, maybe it doesn't make sense. What I'm saying here is like uh, uh, a cooking robot, let's say for a price of like a MacBook Pro, like $2,000, right?
Sure,
That's what I'm going to say is like, okay, yeah, that's going to cook you meals every day for like uh, for every day. Then like you might want to like compare the cost perspective, right? So if you go outside and eat a $20 uh, meal, uh, and then you multiply that for 7 days, it's $140, right?
sure,
And
sure,
let's say you like with our machine, you buy the ingredients for $5.
right.
You're saving $15 per day.
So I totally buy all of this. I
Uh-huh.
actually agree that like if you today said to me,
Uh-huh.
John, you can buy a even $5,000 cooking robot, I would buy that right now.
Uh-huh.
I hate cooking.
Uh-huh.
I cook usually ramen,
Uh-huh.
Trader Joe's frozen meals. Like I don't like cooking that much.
Uh-huh.
So I would very happily, if you could show me the sense ROI,
Uh-huh.
I think my two pushbacks are one, I think I could still have a cheaper diet on Trader Joe's and ramen than I could with a cooking robot and
Uh-huh.
fresh ingredients,
Uh-huh.
potentially. And if I couldn't, I'd love to see that. But I think more importantly for me is the technical roadmap to get there. Like I think the actual path to a what you almost would call like a Turing complete cooking machine. I could do all kinds of meals. I think is probably really far off and requires a lot of R&D.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I guess my question for you is like, what is a scoped product vision that could be achieved in say 6 months? An example would be like this: they have today cooking robots for bakeries,
Uh-huh.
and they receive they're really 3D printers that just like essentially can do like last mile
Uh-huh.
confetti on cakes and stuff like that. That is a very achievable last mile problem. What do you? Because I think the universal cooking any meal is probably maybe I'm wrong on that. It would take millions of dollars, huge team, huge funding to get there, and like how do you even show customers the roadmap there so you can get your investors to buy into that vision?
Yeah, yeah. So universal cooking robot is probably a humanoid robot because
But even step back, I'm even saying like the thing you're describing of you give a machine
uh-huh.
any preference or most preferences,
Uh-huh.
even 1,000 preferences, and they can cook that. I think even that's really far off.
Yeah, yeah. Our cooking robot that I'm working on right now is it's not going to cook all the recipes.
Sure.
But let's say like it cooks 40 recipes, like one pot or two pot recipes. So it's not going to bake or like toast, but it's going to cook the recipes that you can cook on like the pot on an induction cooker and then stir the
Right.
food, pour in ingredients at different times. So it's going to cook like some ingredients reliably like every day. So
Right.
you could have a choice of like 100 or 200 recipes that you can choose on. Like there are millions of recipes out there, right?
No, no.
Yeah.
I buy all. So I think like for me, like
Uh-huh.
even like say one recipe.
Uh-huh.
Let's say like what do you think is a roadmap to be able to say I really like tiki masala.
Uh-huh.
I want to have the ability to take spice, chicken, rice,
Uh-huh.
and cook only that dish.
Yeah.
What is the time to get to that point, do you think? How long do you need to achieve that first milestone of one dish cooked very well?
Uh, right now we're able to do that for customers, maybe 6 months to 1 year.
Okay, so I guess like the first thing to answer is if you were to say, I want the ability to be able to cook
Mm-hmm.
truly one good meal that tastes really good on
Mm-hmm.
the output. Like
Mm-hmm.
the quality ultimately doesn't matter. It's all that matters actually. Is like
Yeah.
you can cook something
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier than cooking it, yourself, and it's as cheap or cheaper than cooking from Trader Joe's or tastes better. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a quality impact. So that's basically probably a year off, you're saying. Like
Yeah.
you could essentially assemble, and the way it would work today is like basically a microwave, but for assembly. You
Mm-hmm.
put in the raw ingredients, and then you push a button, and the machine can output tea masala, basically.
Uh, Yeah, slightly different. Yeah, you're like with AI nowadays, like you just interact. Oh, hey, cook me chicken tikka masala, right?
Hmm.
Like you said, and then it's oh, okay. You put in these ingredients. So
Sure.
yeah, let's cook it. And then like whenever if something is missing, it'll oh, hey, John, you missed this ingredient. Can you please put this ingredient back from the fridge? Or like and then like when it's cooked, it's gonna turn like it has functionality of turning on off temperature from cameras. Like it has a way to identify, oh, is this step fully done, and then now let's go to the next step. So it has a like a functionality to cook the like tikka masala from scratch to finish and then call you whenever it's ready. And uh, so I do cooking a lot, and uh,
Hmm.
how we're able to do that is trying to emulate the human hands, right? So human hands is 6 degrees of freedom,
Hmm.
and what we have done is like, okay, yeah, so we're not gonna need all the functionalities of human hands. What we're going to do is how do we simplify pouring of ingredients at different times and then stirring the food at different times. That's what we do when we basically cook on any countertop like induction cooking appliance or like one pot
Sure.
cooking, two
Sure.
pot. So what it's going to do is it's going to pour at different times and it's going to stir the food at different times, maintain the temperature as needed, and we have well, we have two different cameras to monitor over ingredient containers and then the cooking pot. So it's gonna know like when to do what and basically cook you food. So and yeah, like we're super close to being able to cook a complete meal from scratch. It might not be able to do like all the recipes, but yeah, let's say like in a year it can do 100 recipes better than the Trader Joe's. Yeah.
I think if you do 100 recipes, if you do truly 100 of them,
Mm-hmm.
that would I would pay for it in a year. I'd pre-order that. I
Yeah.
would say I will put down money now
Mm-hmm.
to secure my order for this device. I think where I'm definitely my last thing I'm struggling with is I mentioned this before to you. Even if
Mm-hmm.
the output is the same, a large quantity of people do like the act of cooking. Either they had a long day of work and they had
Mm-hmm.
exhausting time. Like cooking is often seen as a way to create bonds among like couples, for families to do things together. Um, the subset of so I guess you're really your people you're going after are people say like young professionals who probably have no partners or no desire to cook with their partners, who are looking for just meals like me, pure utilitarian. I just want to cook. I don't really care how it's done. I'd be an ideal customer for you. Is that kind of right? Your early customer base should be people like me who have no desire for the art of cooking, just want to get something done quickly.
So our early customers are going to be people who know some cooking, and like who have families and like who are working like families with kids, and like they want to save time. At the same time, they want to create new recipes, and then like let's say a mom like she goes to work in the morning. Our
Mm-hmm.
goal is like she puts in the ingredient on the like robot in the morning, and she goes to work. And from
Sure.
work, she's like, okay, yeah, cook this for me. And then when she comes home, the robot is cooking, or a guy like who wants to okay, let's say for me, like let's say I want to try a Chinese food today. Okay, and then so I'll order ingredients, and then I'll put it in the robot, and then it'll cook for me. And then the next time,
Hmm.
what I'll do is like, okay, I want to tweak this. I want to change the spice level. I want to change one ingredient, like I want to put beef instead of chicken, and then I'll just tweak. So it's for the ideal first customers are families who cook a lot at home, care about health of like their family, love freshly cooked meals.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's the first ideal customer, and then the other customer is like, oh, people who want to tweak with it, like create new recipes, passionate about cooking, want to learn other people's recipes, share, would love to share their cooking with other people. So
So I mean, my family,
mm-hmm,
I'm a unique person that I don't like cooking. My
mm-hmm,
family loves to cook. My parents, my siblings,
mm-hmm,
all love cooking, and so I'm a unique anomaly in that situation. Um, I can just say, like for me personally, like if you, I think the crock pot is a good example of this.
mm-hmm,
My parents will, create a pork roast, similar idea. You put like, beef, potatoes, vegetables, broth in a crock pot. You leave like 10 hours later, and it's a done meal.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that analogy for this, but for any kind of meal. You say you put in the
Yes.
raw ingredients, come back 10 hours later, it's ready to go. How do you win over those people?
Mm-hmm. So for crock pot, it takes 10 hours to get the meal ready.
Sure.
Yeah, for us, it's like 30 minutes. And then,
Well, that's because of actually the chemistry of it. That's why you have to. Crock pot is more for the chemistry. Usually,
yes.
it tastes good if you have 10 hours of,
Uh-huh.
of broiling. Basically,
Yes,
it's not
yes.
about the. But I think for you, I'm saying like, how do you get so like say my dad?
Uh-huh.
He's an older gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
He's not technologically very advanced.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get him to adopt a robot in his kitchen for cooking?
Yes, so it's much more of an appliance than a robot when you look at it, and so it's for people who doesn't have technical expertise. Like it's for people who want to just cook. So
Sure.
like similar to how 3D printers work, there are people who want to just 3D print, 3D print, 3D print, and
Right.
there are people who want to tinker with the actual 3D printer. Make some modifications like change like the extruder or something, right? So this is for people similar to there where like like people interested in 3D printing, just printing in volume or like testing new prints. Here
Right.
it's for people who want to cook. Like you could go to the robot and say, oh hey, I want to cook this, and it should be able to like cook you food, right? So it's for people from every background, like without regardless of technical expertise.
Right.
And like how do I win people, like you said, like your dad who loves to cook, right?
Right.
So,
Or
uh,
even more, maybe he would like the convenience, but genuinely,
uh-huh.
it's intimidating to have a new robot or a very complex appliance in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah, our goal is to make it look simple and a size of a microwave that can fit any house. So our goal is to uh, make it seamless. Like, oh yeah, this is just another appliance that's going that cooks me like these kind of foods. So
Right.
that's our goal. Although it's a robot and it's trying to do what human hands would do for one pot cooking or two pot cooking, but in a very simple way. And when it's a countertop appliance, like it we're making sure it's safe and we're maintaining privacy. Like let's say for a robot complex, when you talk about autonomous robot now, so let's say like like vacuum cleaner that goes around in your room, like you have to give access to your whole room. Like it has to know, like see the video. Even for humanoid robot, like it needs
Sure.
to see whole thing. That is just one countertop appliance that's gonna sit there, just gonna cook, and then it's not gonna like look over your whole like kitchen or your whole room.
Right.
And yeah, like we're trying to make it like as seamless as possible. Like people can think of it as a countertop appliance even though it's a
Right.
robot.
Um, it all makes sense. I think if I sit back to you, like your goal is this. Your goal is to target a mass market consumer appliance. You're
Yes.
not going for a full human robot that can do any sort of household cooking, cleaning. You're looking for a very targeted task that can do very specific things.
Yes.
Um, I think I have a few like this is my own like, thoughts of like if I was my concerns with this idea and what I would think through a lot is do you know the book Crossing the Chasm?
No.
So it's by Jeffrey Moore, and it's basically this sort of like sales marketing. When I was at Palantir, I wanted to read this book, and the whole idea is Jeffrey Moore did consulting for high tech companies through the 80s and 90s. And I think probably to this day, I'm not sure actually his full background, but I kind of butchered that. But the high level he was arguing was every new technology will follow called a technology adoption curve that ranges from at the first segment, it's like a bell curve basically of people. And so the first thing is early adopters. And they'll be the first people to try your new idea. So whether it was your Oracle database or whether it was Microsoft Windows, whether it was the Mac, the Macintosh from Apple, all of these devices, their early fan bases were typically techies. For
Mm-hmm.
Oracle, it was the CIA, so techie in a certain capacity. For the Mac, it was hackers, enthusiasts. For Windows, for Microsoft, it was also you know technical people, hackers, enthusiasts. The early adopters of Windows were not mainstream
Mm-hmm.
consumers. Or actually, more accurate, so Microsoft first released an operating system. So the early adopters of their operating system were not, consumers necessarily. They were usually Microsoft began as doing consulting for technical applications, so it wasn't very accessible early on.
Mm-hmm.
Mac, its whole breakthrough was it was very easy to use. But even for Mac, again, the early adopters tend to be people who are computer enthusiasts. And so I think for any genuinely novel technology where there isn't a proven market yet, you have to first understand who will be the early adopters, who will be the people who are willing to kind of go through the finger cuts, like sort of like the raw edges, and work with you on this so you can find a finished product. Tesla, similar thing. Tesla, early adopters were all again techies who were passionate about climate change, passionate about electric cars, and they were okay with the fact that Tesla early on was really bad in a lot of ways. And so I think for you, I would think hard about is, you know, who is the segment of people? It should be a small segment of people. It should not be a big segment of people. Who is the niche segment of people who both meet the needs of they cook a lot, they want fresh cooking, but they're also technical people. Because I do think if your first market is the mass market, which is basically people who are consumer grade, um, they don't want to have paper cuts. My dad would not have bought and didn't buy the first Mac, the first Tesla, the first Windows applications. He was probably a purchaser, let's say decades after the fact, even though he doesn't have a Tesla to this day, even though like they're pretty mainstream, because he would prefer a Toyota. It's more consumer friendly, more risk averse. I think if you're selling to the consumer market, it's going to be really, really hard to break into people who, quite frankly, are conservative and risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas people who are inherently risk tolerant, like college students
Mm-hmm.
who are yourself, like mechanical engineers who are looking to automate cooking tasks, or young professionals in Silicon Valley who want to, like myself, who want to automate cooking tasks. Those can be really strong
Mm-hmm.
early customers, but I think it's worth. I just think even if your experience is seamless early on,
Mm-hmm.
there'll be paper cuts. There'll be things that are not quite right.
Yeah.
And I think if you try to go for the for like a 65-year-old dad, I think it's just going to be too hard because they're not going to be willing to work with you on the small knits, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So it is hard to pin down people who are going to be like early adapter, and then be a techie there, right? So
Right.
for that, like you said earlier, for Tesla, right? It's an
Sure.
autonomous vehicle, right? Versus Waymo,
Right.
it has a lot of liars, look crazy. Versus Tesla, it's a car with autonomous features, right?
Right.
And you don't necessarily need to know like how the neural network in there for autonomous driving works, or like, oh, it's similar to the car like that people are used to driving. Versus Waymo, it's a whole new concept, right?
Right.
So I would say like our robot is much more into the Tesla category of like, oh, it's just another countertop appliance that's okay with has AI and it's a little bit smarter. So we're trying to go through that approach versus a Waymo, like it needs to map the 3D, like map the cities, and then
Totally.
oh yeah, and like it's gonna be driverless from the beginning. Versus
Right.
ours is like, oh yeah, it's just one countertop appliance that you can use like any other appliance through buttons or everything, but also it has AI in there that can interact with you and then cook food for you. So that's our approach. And like you said, yes, so it's probably hard to find techies and then people who cook, and then those could be early adopters. Uh, uh, so right now, like I'm from Nepal and we
Right.
cook a lot, and like our neighbors, like from India, like they cook a lot too, and a lot of
Right.
all of my friends here, uh, and when you look at the demographic, there is a lot of techies from India, Nepal, and like South Asian countries, right? And
Right.
I think those would be our early customers. And
Right.
I have talked with many people in the past few, like 3 years, and there is a significant interest. And uh, to clarify, there is actually another company that we're going to compete against, and they're doing really good. And I think it's good to have them as a competitor because, like, they're already raising funds and they had done a lot of customer testing. And I look at the feedback they get from customers. They're in super early stage too, but yeah,
Right.
like people are testing it at their houses and they're cooking food with that. I think they're I think they completed alpha and beta prototypes and they're like delivering products soon. But yeah, like it's someone else is doing there too, and we're uh, I think we're going to be 10 times better. But it's good to have them there.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
like
Iron sharpens iron. Well, so I'll leave it with three things.
mhm,
So I think so. We're almost out of time, so make sure we wrap things up so we don't go too long.
mhm.
But one is if you're watching this episode, you're one of the 8 viewers. Kidding. um, and you're curious about, I would be down to try out
Mhm.
and give feedback to essentially a non-humanoid specialized robot for semi-autonomous cooking, you would call it. Not full autonomous, but semi-autonomous
Uh,
cooking.
Autonomous and collaborative.
Okay. Autonomous and collaborative cooking. We will leave Sangam's email in the bio, and you can email him directly and let him know you're interested in being an early customer or beta tester. Two is I think we should do in the future for another fun collab is we should host events in the valley, like just like dinners or happy hours.
Yeah,
Bring your robot,
yeah, yeah.
and we should serve food at the events
Mhm.
from the robot with
Yeah.
other research robots in the valley.
Mhm.
So I think genuinely, if you invite a bunch of robotic startups to a happy hour and you serve hors d'oeuvres made from an autonomous cooking robot, you get people like, okay, I'll pre-order that. I'm interested in that.
Yep.
So one, if you're interested in just trying it out, email Sangam or email myself and I will email Sangam for you. Two, we should collab and do some
Yeah, yeah,
some
definitely.
happy hours
Yeah.
and bring your when your robot's ready, you should make your MVP to produce hors d'oeuvres is
Mhm.
your goal. Produce like a cookie dough balls like that. Something like really simple that we
Mhm.
can just produce for people to have at a party and then we can just serve at a party your robot and people can say that's really cool. How do you do that? And then you can talk about sign up
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
pre-order list.
Yeah, there is an enterprise version of like how we're going to sell it to enterprise, but that's for the next episode,
Right.
right?
Exactly. And then the last thing is so the real also like point of this podcast is to expose new grads, early career individuals who are interested in, mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, computer science, to what kind of job exists out there today in startups and companies. So you're hiring right now. Who are you hiring?
So,
Who do you need?
yeah, right now I'm looking for co-founders like builders, hackers.
Sure.
Currently, I'm mechanical in the team, even though I do hardware, software, electrical stuff. But
Sure.
I'm looking for passionate electrical engineers, computer science majors, who like to build things, break things, and then yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in future of robotics, and if you cook and or love to cook, and then you believe in the vision of having consumer robots in households and enterprises, please reach out to me. Or
And
yeah,
more tactfully so again in person in California.
yes,
So you should be able to be relocate if you're
yeah,
going to do this.
hmm
Um, and you're looking for electrical,
hmm
computer science. So at least 2 people you're hiring for, if not more.
Yeah, just two for now.
Two for now. So one CS, one electrical.
And later we'll have like hiring for mechanical design engineers.
Sweet, sweet. Any business people?
Not right now. We're building,
Right.
and I think we'll be talking to different customers first. Yeah, letting people taste the actual food. Our MVP is food, not the robot itself, because I
Totally.
think
That's
like
good.
the
That's good.
food
That's a good idea.
food has the value, like more value than the robot, because like the taste makes the whole difference.
Great.
So yeah.
And so again, so if you're interested in a role with Sangam, email either Sangam himself, email in the bio, or email me. Our company helps for free college students, early career individuals, vet their resume, prepare them for the interviews with Sangam, so they feel ready to go, and he knows what they're all about beforehand. We pre-screen everyone. So yeah, email either of us or both of us, and we'll get started on the hiring process because we need to move fast for his company.
Yep.
We need to get things done. So hire is happening right now. So very exciting stuff.
Yep. Thank you for inviting me here
Cool.
today.
Happy to be here. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Till next time. Thanks.
Bye.
See you.
See you.